My coworker demanded I let her take my office because you don't need the space as much as I do. When I refused, she rearranged the office while I was out and smirked. Too late, I'm already settled in. My boss walked in as I pulled out my office assignment email and said, "Then let's see how fast you move back out." I work at a mid-size marketing firm in Chicago. Been there almost 8 years. Started off as an intern, worked my way up. Not the flashiest job, but I like what I do. I'm good at it. I show up, hit my deadlines, and don't bother anyone. Last year, I finally got a real office. Not a cubicle. A real one. With walls, a door, and a window that looked out at the river. I didn't get it because I kissed up to anyone. I earned it. I outperformed my targets for 3 years straight, led a few big projects, and got a lot of recognition from the leadership team. I kept my office neat. No family pictures, no giant plants, no mood lights or anything weird. Just a clean space where I could shut the door, put on some music, and actually think. Then came Samantha. She was hired as a senior strategist. New face, big ego. Loud voice. Liked to remind people that she came from a major firm in New York. And was used to high-performing environments. Whatever that meant. She asked a lot of questions, interrupted people in meetings, and always had some story about how things were better where she used to work. People tolerated her, but that was about it. Her desk was one row over from mine, open space, no privacy. She complained constantly. About the noise, about how people smelled like takeout, about how she couldn't think in a fishbowl. One Tuesday afternoon, she popped into my office. Didn't knock. Just walked in. Samantha. "Hey, so. I've been thinking. You don't really take a lot of meetings in here, right?" Me. "Not a ton. But when I do, it's important I have a quiet space." Samantha. Right. Totally. It's just I need a place to focus, and it doesn't make sense for me to be out there while you're in here barely using the room. She looked at me like she'd already decided it was hers. Me. I use this space. A lot. I like it here. She paused. Smiled. That fake kind of smile where you know the person's already planning their next move. Samantha. Okay. I get it. Just thought I'd ask. She left. I didn't think much of it. 2 weeks later, I had to fly to New York for a 3-day client pitch with our East Coast team. Early Wednesday, I left straight from O'Hare. No time to stop by the office. Friday afternoon, I came back. Walked into the floor like always. People looked at me weird. Like that look when someone knows something you don't. I headed toward my office and saw that my nameplate was gone. Instead, Samantha's name was taped up. Not even screwed in, just printed out, scotch-taped over mine. Inside? She was sitting at my desk like it had always been hers. Chair leaned back. Coffee mug. Her ugly framed quote on the wall, "Hustle harder," in glitter letters. Her dumb little bonsai tree was on my windowsill. I stood in the doorway. Me. What are you doing? She didn't even look surprised. Samantha. Oh hey. Yeah, I moved in. While you were gone. I figured, why not? You weren't using it. Me. This is my office. Samantha. It's not a big deal. Your stuff's over there. She pointed to a box sitting by an empty desk near the printers. I already settled in. She turned back to her laptop. That's when I saw it, she smirked. Like she'd won. I didn't yell. I didn't say another word. I walked straight to our boss, Mark. Director of Strategy. He's been with the company longer than I have. No drama guy. Pretty by the book. His office is 2 floors up. I knocked and walked in. Me. Do you know anything about Samantha taking my office? He looked confused. Said no. Asked what I meant. I told him everything. He asked if I had proof that the office was assigned to me. I did. I pulled up the original email from HR when I got promoted last year. Subject line. Office assignment, Room 410. Date stamped, signed off by HR and Mark himself. He leaned back in his chair. Mark, let's go downstairs. We took the elevator. When we walked in, Samantha was in my chair, typing away like she was solving climate change. Mark stopped at the door. Mark, Samantha. We need to talk. She looked up. That fake smile again. Samantha. Hi, Mark. I'm just getting some work done. Isn't this office great? Mark. It's not your office. Samantha. Well, it wasn't being used. And it makes a lot more sense for me to. Mark, cutting her off. This office is assigned to my name. Permanently. You had no right to move anything without approval. She looked stunned. Then annoyed. Samantha. But I've already moved everything in. Mark. Then let's see how fast you can move back out. That was it. Cold. Professional. Brutal. He turned to me. Mark. Your office will be returned to you today. I nodded. Didn't say anything. Walked out. People were watching. Word spreads fast in our building. She didn't say a word to me. Just packed her stuff up in silence. The smirk was gone. She was out of the office in under 20 minutes. Packed up her glittery quote frame, the bonsai tree, her 3 kinds of pens, even her weird glass cat paperweight. She didn't say a word to me the whole time. Not even a glance. By the time I sat down at my desk again, everything felt off. She hadn't just moved in, she'd rearranged the furniture. Moved my chair. Took down the hooks where I hung my laptop bag. Even messed with the settings on my monitor and mouse. I could tell she was making a statement. A quiet, smug middle finger. Still, I had my office back. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. That next week, things got weird. My reports started vanishing from the shared drive. Files I was sure I uploaded were gone. My access to certain folders would glitch out. I'd open a spreadsheet and half the data was deleted, or worse, wrong. Random edits that made no sense. I started triple-checking everything. Keeping backup copies on a private USB. Talking less in meetings. Watching my back. Samantha? She acted like nothing happened. Smiling in the halls. Laughing loudly with people she used to ignore. Like she'd moved on. Then came the email. Subject. Concerns about workflow disruption. From Samantha to Mark CC, me, HR. It was long. Full of vague complaints about collaboration breakdowns, limited access to critical office space, and workflow inefficiency due to resource monopolization. She never used my name directly, but it was obvious. Every line was about me. Or my office. I stared at the screen for a solid 5 minutes. She wasn't done with me. She was trying to play the long game. Paint me as the selfish one. Like I was the problem for wanting to keep what was already mine. Mark responded quickly, kept it brief. Office assignments are not under debate. Let's focus on meeting deadlines. But after that, the tension in the office felt different. A couple coworkers started acting weird toward me. Like maybe they believed some of the stuff she hinted at. One even said, "Hey, not trying to stir the pot, but did you really get her kicked out?" I didn't explain. I just said, "She took something that wasn't hers. I took it back." Weeks passed. Samantha kept her distance, but things got messy. She started pushing to lead projects she had no business touching. She'd accidentally forget to loop me in on campaign reviews. Would book meetings at the exact same time as mine with key clients, forcing people to pick whose invite to accept. It was petty. But it worked. A few times I found myself scrambling to reschedule with a client who was double booked and chose her meeting first. Then came the budget mix-up. I was in charge of quarterly reporting for a major account, $700K in ad spend. I logged into the system and found that someone had submitted changes to my spreadsheet. Adjustments I never made. They moved money out of our priority campaign into a brand new one she was heading. It looked like I approved it. Mark called me into his office that same afternoon. Mark, did you sign off on this? Me. No. That's not my version of the report. Mark, it came from your profile. I stared at him. Everything in me screamed she did this. But I had no proof. Me. Someone's messing with my files. He looked tired. He rubbed his eyes and told me to forward the original report. Said IT would take a look. I left his office angry. Not just at her. At the way she was moving through this place, breaking things and walking away like she didn't leave a mess behind. That night I stayed late. Pulled every saved version of that report from my USB. Every timestamp. Every email chain. I made a binder. Physical copies. I wanted facts. Cold, hard proof. I also printed every email she ever CC'd me on that hinted at me being a barrier. Or blocker. I highlighted words. Drew lines. Like a damn detective with a murder wall. I wasn't going to let her win. I just needed the right moment. Then the moment came. A week later, I found something. Hidden in plain sight. Samantha had a habit of naming her files with her initials and date. Sloppy. Predictable. I was digging through the shared project folder and spotted a doc labeled SLQ_budget_rework_draft 2. Curious, I opened it. It was an older version of the budget, edited 2 days before the changes hit the system. It matched exactly the bogus numbers that showed up under my name. She didn't cover her tracks. She just assumed no one was looking. I took screenshots. Saved copies. Called IT. I wasn't done. But now I had ammo. I waited 3 days. 3 long days while IT ran their internal review. I didn't say a word. Not to Samantha. Not to anyone else in the office. I acted normal, attended my meetings, smiled when I had to. On the 3rd morning, Mark called me back into his office. He didn't waste time. Mark, we traced the edits. The report changes came from Samantha's login. He didn't say much more. He looked irritated. Embarrassed, maybe? Like he knew he trusted the wrong person too long. I just nodded and slid a folder across his desk. Inside was every email, every file, every little jab she'd taken over the last 2 months. I even included a screenshot of her name still labeled on the doc where she shifted the budget. Me. I didn't want to escalate. But she's been targeting me since I told her no. He didn't open the folder right away. Just tapped the top with his fingers. Mark, we'll handle it. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Later that afternoon, Samantha was called upstairs. She was gone for almost an hour. When she came back, she didn't go to her desk. She went straight to the break room, grabbed her purse, and left. People noticed. She didn't return the next day. Or the day after. The rumors started immediately. People said she was suspended. Someone else said she got caught trying to access files she wasn't cleared for. One guy said she freaked out in the meeting upstairs and started crying. But here's the twist. On Monday, the team had a mandatory meeting with HR and a new executive from legal. They gave us a short presentation on proper data access and digital file integrity. Boring stuff, until they dropped this line. We've recently identified internal manipulation of financial data tied to personal account logins. Everyone froze. They didn't say names, but we all knew. That afternoon, I got a call. It wasn't from Mark. It was from someone in our headquarters in Denver. A director I'd only met once. He asked me for a one-on-one Zoom. Said they wanted to hear my side of things formally. We talked for almost an hour. I told him everything. From the moment she walked into my office uninvited, to her smirk when she said she was already settled in, to every little move she made afterward. He listened. Took notes. Asked questions. Then he said something I didn't expect. Director, this isn't just about one office. We believe she's done this before. Apparently, there were signs, small flags in the system going back months. Misfiled invoices, suspicious access logs, nameplate changes that didn't go through facilities. It wasn't just me. She'd pulled similar stunts at her last job, too. They only found out because someone from her old company applied to ours recently and mentioned her reputation during a background check call. It hit me then, this wasn't just a petty person acting out. This was her thing. She targeted people who wouldn't fight back and created chaos to push herself ahead. She made people question themselves. Gaslight coworkers. Switched assignments. Stirred up noise so she could slide into power. Except this time, it didn't work. Still, the mess she left behind was bigger than I thought. Turns out, she'd been forwarding confidential documents to her personal email. Nothing life-shattering, but enough to trigger serious policy violations. Contracts, client briefs, strategy decks. Stuff we don't just send around. The company launched a full investigation. Quietly, but thoroughly. And me? I kept my head down. For a while. Until one day, a few weeks later, I was called back into Mark's office. He closed the door behind me. Mark. So, I have some news. I braced for something terrible. But he smiled. Mark, the leadership team wants to promote you. They've seen how you handled all of this, and they're impressed. I didn't say anything. I was still stuck on the word. Promote. Mark. New title, small bump in salary. But more importantly, your own team. You'll have 2 direct reports. It felt good. Not just the promotion. The validation. That I wasn't crazy. That all those weeks of being watched, questioned, second-guessed, weren't for nothing. But the story doesn't end there. Because a month later, I got a message. A random LinkedIn request. No note. Just a name. Samantha. Her profile headline was different. New company. Different city. Still marketing. Still using the same buzzwords. She tried to connect with me. Like we were ever colleagues. I didn't accept. I didn't block her either. I wanted her to see what I was doing now. I updated my profile. Strategy lead. Team manager. Chicago. And in the background of my profile photo? You could just barely see the river from my office window. 2 weeks after she tried to connect with me on LinkedIn, someone from her new job called our office. It was the head of compliance at a financial firm based out of St. Louis. Samantha had somehow landed a senior strategist role there. The call wasn't for me, it was for our HR manager. I found out about it later that afternoon when I passed by the break room and overheard 2 people whispering. She's being investigated again, one of them said. Apparently she used our client data in a proposal over there. That got my attention fast. I went to HR the next day. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but since she dragged me through hell, I wanted to make sure nothing with my name was still attached to her mess. HR confirmed it. She had downloaded strategy decks and performance metrics from 3 clients she didn't even work with directly. She must have saved them to a personal device or emailed them to herself during that whole budget fiasco. She used our client data to make herself look good at her new job. And she got caught. But here's where it got ugly, for both of us. 2 of the campaign files she pulled had my signature in the document history. Not because I sent them to her, but because I built the original decks. And she never scrubbed the metadata. So now I was pulled into it again. Legal called me. Compliance called me. I had to give a sworn statement that I had no knowledge of her using those files. I showed them everything I had, my backups, emails, version history. It took days to sort through it. I lost sleep over it. It felt like I was being punished just for doing my job. Just for being the one she chose to mess with. Then someone from the St. Louis company called me directly. One of their directors. He wanted to talk. Off the record. He said he'd seen my name in the file logs, and before they made any formal decisions, he wanted to know if Samantha had pulled anything like this before. I didn't hold back. I told him about the office stunt. About the file edits. The fake workflow complaints. The budget tampering. The smirk. He listened, quiet the whole time. Then he said this. That matches the pattern we're seeing. 3 days later, she was fired. No severance. No soft exit. They escorted her out of the building. But here's the final twist. Someone leaked it. An anonymous post showed up on a private industry forum. It detailed how a former strategist was caught using stolen client data to fake their way into a senior role. No names. But if you knew, you knew. Her name was poison after that. People scrubbed her from old teen photos. She vanished off LinkedIn for a while. Probably trying to clean things up. Me? I thought it was over. Then I got a message from her. Not through LinkedIn this time. Not even email. She sent a handwritten letter to the office. Addressed to me. It said, You think you won, but you only got lucky. You're not better than me. You're just quieter. That's why people listen to you. Not because you're smarter. Because you play innocent. But we both know you stood by while I got destroyed. That's not integrity. That's cowardice. I read it 3 times. I didn't show it to HR. I didn't need to. I burned it in my sink that night. Because she wasn't wrong, not completely. I didn't fight back right away. I let her bully me. I let her move into my space. I tried to be the bigger person, but all it did was give her more room to play her game. So yeah, maybe I was quiet. But that's what made the revenge hit harder. She couldn't see it coming. She didn't even hear it until it was already too late. And me? I've kept everything. Every screenshot. Every file. Every email. Because the next time someone tries to come for what I've earned, I won't wait. I'll make sure they regret even thinking about it. And Samantha? She'll never get another second chance. Not in this industry. Because people forget the fake smiles, the buzzwords, and the team player lies. But they never forget the smell of smoke after someone burns every last bridge behind them. And I made sure she lit the match herself.